Hey guys, Stealth here. I've been getting critiques from you that I am not getting my ass kicked enough. So here it is. This is a video of me getting my ass kicked completely. I was working here with Spect. I really let him down this time around because I completely screwed up my side of the game. We're fighting Othoa Boris and Marshal Nai. These guys really know what they're doing, unlike me in this game. So I'm going to be keeping this thing in neutral viewer, showing both their units and my own, and seeing where it all went wrong. Now I'm using a USSR General deck here, which means that I'm going to try and get as much infantry fielded as possible, because that's usually the way I play. I try to capture these structures, get a foothold there, then deploy some tanks, deploy the tanks there, possibly the infantry, and of course get some units, possibly a spotter in there, as soon as possible in order to get an eye on what is going on in the middle of the map. Spect is going to head to Foxtrot as well as this forest down the middle. And what I'm starting with, as mentioned, mostly infantry. BTR 90 with Spetsnaz, BTR 70 with AA infantry, and a few BMD 3s with VDV. Mi-24 Delta with Recon. Over towards, let's say more of the middle, I got MTLBVs with Motostrelki 90, a T-72A, a Buryusa in case I run up against a helicopter, and Spect over towards the right is starting with more infantry. He's going towards Foxtrot, which means infantry is going to be required. He has 4 OSAs in there, and you're going to see exactly why that becomes apparent, or why that becomes required. Marshal is going to attack this position. Othoa Boris apparently is going to defend this section. And let's just see what they're starting with. They're going with an M1A1 Abrams times 2, a bit of infantry, and it seems that they're deploying these things not specifically on one flank, but through each other, meaning that these guys are working in a very good tandem. We got Vabs with infantry here, Marshal is deploying some Abrams, also got a longbow nearby. Aside from that, he has down the middle a Crotal to counter any of my helicopters, Vabs with ATGMs, Recon, more Recon, a command vehicle. This is Conquest, by the way. The AMX 1390s and a bunch of Vabs. Over towards the right, more transports, more infantry, a few 1A5, or correction, one 1A5. Dornier 205 with Recon and a Recon Helo. Now, compare that to what I have. What do you see missing from my section? I do have an AA gun. I have 1 tank on this flank. Over towards the middle, it's going to be a bit harder to see because Spect's also here. 1 AA gun, 1 tank, but only a T-72A, which, while being a decent tank, is not a match at all for an M1A1. Bit of infantry, but nothing really in the sense of a fast unit, nor do I have aerial recon. They very much have aerial recon. They have their BO 105 and their longbow, and this thing is what I'm going to encounter first, and it's going to completely tie up my forces. They're also flying in with an aircraft that I was rather surprised to see. This is the F-8E Crusader. I'm not sure why he was using these, but they seem to be doing their job rather well. 2 fire and forget short-range missiles can be fired at both aircraft and helicopters. Decent amount of accuracy, only 45. 10% ECM, pretty good speed. And it's a pretty cheap way to see what is going on. Now I was trying to get my Mi-24 Delta with, I believe, Spetsnaz GRU towards this position as quickly as possible, and of course it immediately gets engaged, not only by the Crusader, but also by the longbow. I think the longbow may have spotted it, and the Crusader decided to go for it. So again, this is 2 different players, immediately going for the same target. Well, guess what's going to happen there. He goes down, big helicopter crash, no survivors. So that's my recon for the middle of the match done. Surprisingly, they send in a Thunderbolt. Now, I gotta say, I don't know what they're seeing. They're seeing mostly my forces here with their longbow. Longbow is controlled by the same guy as the Thunderbolt, So what he's trying to do is trying to deter me from getting in close. And he's trying to do that in two ways. He has the longbow in here and the thunderbolt approaching. Now I don't think I can see the thunderbolt yet. Yeah, I do see it. I do see the thunderbolt. What he's doing is using Hellfires, which is a rather expensive weapon to kill off my forces, meaning that I cannot actually get to this town. Missiles are going in, I'm offloading my forces as quickly as possible, but then my Spatsnaz all have to start walking. I have a couple of Igla teams which are trying to get into a position, but they are panicked. Then the Thunderbolt comes in and tries to deter some more of my forces. Fortunately for me, the HGMs mostly miss. Beryusa tries to go for the Thunderbolt. And down the middle, my Igla team here tries to shoot down the Thunderbolt in order to clear off these forces a little bit. But the Thunderbolt does not make it out. I was going to say it makes it out, but I didn't think I was going to shoot that down. T-72A went down. Now I'm in trouble. Now I'm in real trouble. I have my Spatsnaz over here. I have Iglas and I have my Beryusa. What I don't have is any kind of capacity to destroy vehicles, especially heavier armed vehicles. We have Humvees over here with apparently smalls coming in, or at least that would be my estimate. M35s, VABs, M35 again. I still don't really have a fix for that longbow there. So at this point I was pretty much panicking because I could not push in anywhere. I decided to push through the middle with the forces that I have here. Of course, I get nailed down by HGML and F3s and the Abrams, which are going to be following up pretty soon. Followed swiftly by LVTP-7A1s with Marines. So I got grenade launchers, I got AT weaponry, Chaparrals coming at me, so AA. They got the recon from the longbow. They have everything nailed down. Now over towards the right, Spect was doing a little better. He was also trying to help me out down the middle using 3 T-64 BMs. But at short range, a BM against a Legionnaire is a very nice snack for a Legionnaire. The T-64 BM will not be able to do a lot. He's also using a Tor. Decent range on these against helicopters, 3150, which means it's better than the longbow at 2800. And he tried to nuke the longbow with both of these Tors. I don't think he ever got in range though. Over here, not a lot of forces either. A couple of OSAs, a few BTRDs with infantry, more BTRDs in here, which have which have not yet been offloaded. And what they have on this flank is Legionnaires, Paras, VABs, a Leopard 1A5, and a bit of infantry, and one recon. No AA here. Now, with most of my forces offloaded, I decided to pull back, because again, I decided to offload my forces here, fearing that HGMs would destroy my forces in their transports. Over towards the left, the smalls started eating through my Spatsnaz very quickly. Then they went for the Beryusa, so now I lost my AA here as well, and I only have the Iglas left. The smalls have the range to go for the Spatsnaz, and they finally kill it. MiG-29 goes in, drops some bombs on the smalls, and I managed to destroy exactly one of the smalls. One unit of infantry died, or actually one infantryman, not even a unit. Now I was worried that they were going to push through with these Humvees along this road, which I could not counter at all, and just rush straight on into Echo. The T-64 BMs here are getting destroyed, so the Legionnaires are doing a great job there. Over here in the middle, I'm still trying to scramble for cover, and they have quite a few forces here, but my recon died very early on, so this is what I'm seeing. Absolutely nothing. I don't know where any of these guys are, and his Abrams is just picking off my AA, so I got one Spatsnaz and one Igla over here. That's all. Now, one group of Spatsnaz against 30 Marines, I might be able to get away with that, if I'm lucky. I will not be able to get away with that if they are backed up by the LVTP-7A1s and the SMAWs. So for now, Blue 4 has most of the map under their control. They have Alpha, they can easily capture Bravo, and they are already in the process of doing so. And considering it's conquest, they're going to start building up that income. They're going to start leading. You can see my Spetsnaz intentionally are in the building behind. I know that that's opening up this structure, but if I move there, the smalls are going to hit me again. So it was a big catch-22, whereas I could not move anywhere. Spetsnaz are chewing through the Marines at best speed, but unlike the Marines, I don't have any backup. So the grenade launchers from the LVTP-7A1s are actually not even the grenade launchers, this is just the main gun. Now the grenade launchers join in, Spetsnaz is dead. My entire left flank has completely failed. I tried to do a bombing run with my MiG-29S. Tried to go after, I think, the LVTB-7s. Immediately get a response from a PIP-3, a Crotal, and a Chaparral. And, of course, my MiG, I thought it was going to get shot down here, but that's probably next bombing run. It makes it out, but unsurprised, or I was rather surprised that it did. LVTPs have taken a lot of damage, but they're not dead. And again, all I have left here is a bunch of Motostrelkis, a few BTR... basically a few BTRs, one BTR RD robot with Fagot HGMs, Concours HGMs with one missile left, BTR 70 with a machine gun, which I accidentally turned off, Iglas, and a Briuza. Spect is desperately trying to reinforce my flank with more infantry. He got some VDV landing there. As mentioned, they're already currently gaining a +1 advantage here. I decided to send a UAZ forward to start spotting. At which pace, immediately, a bunch of M35s with Rangers come in. Now, Rangers are very, very good infantry, and actually there were more Rangers than there were M35s, so I'm not sure where the last section went, or he just recycled these transports. The M35s are not a problem for Motostrelki, but the Rangers are. They're starting to run away right now. T-72A arrived just in time to reinforce this section. Bomber goes in again, immediately dodges all the bombs, and I managed to blow up the transports, but I don't hit the Rangers. Concours are trying to nail the Abrams, managed to hit him once, but the second missile missed the target. Again, M1 Abrams getting hit by T-72A. Watch this. I only did 1 damage. Now it's going to return fire. Hit. And I also immediately lost 6 out of 10 hit points, whereas he lost 1 out of 10. I have no chance of winning this. Concorde again trying to fire. Missile going in. Hitting the Abrams, but it's still alive, so it's still firing. It's only worried, it's not even dead. It's not even panicked or stunned yet. I send in an Mi-24P to start dealing with the Abrams. Of course, that thing immediately gets nailed down by a Chaparral. I don't even manage to hit the Abrams. Chaparral managed to finish off my helicopter though. So everything I started to throw at these guys got immediately nailed down. If I sent in a helicopter, the Chaparral got it. If I sent in a tank, the combined force of the Abrams got it. If I sent in HGM infantry, got shot at by the Abrams. BMPT came in a tad late. I sent that thing here. Spect manages to finish off 2 of the Abrams, which means that the armor on this side is now gone. He loses his jet in the process, unfortunately. I decided to deploy a few forces here, a few transports, to deter the Humvees from moving up. And what I completely missed was this. A Dornier 205 and a Fern Speyer. And of course the Fern Speyer is going directly towards the FOB. And more importantly, the BMD 2K. It's going to take them a while to get there, but once they do get there, we're going to be in a world of hurt. I bring in a KA-52 to start scouting, because again, my reconnaissance here is terrible. I only have the UAZ and it's far in the back. So I'm trying to spot exactly what I'm up against so I can start countering. I decided to start spamming T-72As here. BMPT got its ass handed to it by possibly the Marines. I'm not too sure what hit it. Maybe the Legionnaires, considering they fired 2 missiles. T-72As are moving. Trying to support the Motostrelki here against the Rangers. And the rest of my very, very weakened forces. 1 Concours out of missiles. 2 Motostrelki, panicked. I'm trying to do what I can here. I didn't actually have line of sight on the Rangers, so I just decided to attack around with my T-72As. KA-52 is scouting the place. You can see that I'm still not actually seeing anything. I don't even see the Rangers in here. Bringing in an MTLBV with more infantry. As Spect over here is trying to fend off against Deckungsgruppe and Martyrs. His Spetsnaz are getting nailed pretty bad. There's a lot of Martyrs giving these guys fire support. So again, we could not do much. KA-52 managed to spot an active Roland 2. It fires at it with a seed missile and kills it. But of course that is not exactly the last of their AA. They still have a PIP-3, a Crotal and a Chaparral. And more importantly, they have everything they need to defend this flank. Spec goes in with an Su-24M, gets shot down immediately. Now at least his bombing runs actually hit something. And with that, he manages to kill off 10 units of Deckungsgruppe, or 2 squads. Now currently we are holding, we're not actually losing points at this stage, but that is not going to last long. Spect has a few Spetsnaz here, which are getting spotted by the commandos, I think. We have a few forces in this town, but not a lot. And you can see that they're already getting an infantry CV into a position so that it can neutralize the cap here. Aside from that, they backed up this position with a few M1 Abrams, or M1A1 actually. 120 point tanks, but in Conquest you have the income, so why not? And with that, there is not really any good way for us to push up here, except by using helicopters. But we were way too focused on trying to, well, survive in the middle. Defense was really the only way that I had to play this, because I got caught out in the open so damn fast. MiG-27 manages to get one missile in on the M1IP and gets shot down. Legionnaires again firing at the T-64BMs. He pulls those away, but the second one did not manage to get away. And M1IPs, Leopard 2s, managed to finish off the last T-64, or at least the wounded one. So, at least Spect was doing something useful. I was losing pretty much every single force I was sending towards this position. My Spetsnaz are being spotted. They're trying to push these Rangers out of this little piece of tree line that they have left. And with the RPO Rice, they're doing an admirable job. But the Rice, of course, starts fires, and fires create smoke. Smoke blocks line of sight, and they block their own line of sight towards the Rangers. Wonderful play. Aircraft comes in. This is my MiG-25BM, trying to nail down some of the AA so I can fly with more helicopters. I managed to nail the PIP-3. My aircraft managed to make it out, but again, I don't have any way of neutralizing those infrareds. I marked more or less where those AA units are. And of course, at this point, we have company. We have a Fernspeyer in our lines here. Spect is sending in some BMP-3s. I have a T-72A here, which was sent back for repairs. And his BMP-3s are, of course, unaware of the presence here, because it's just a BMP-2K. It only has medium optics. These guys have exceptional stealth. They are not likely to get spotted. Blue 4 is leading by +1 again, because they have their TACOM in this zone. My Spetsnaz are trying to get the last of the Rangers here, which are currently running away. MTLBV is what I'm sending forward to nail the Rangers. Of course, the Rangers can still return fire, and that's exactly what they do. Over towards the left, I'm trying to get MTLBVs across. And I had actually expected that these things were going to get shot down right away as they were crossing. Surprisingly, they weren't. Because, again, this is what I saw. I saw nothing. I didn't have any clue what was going on. My KA-52, by the way, if you're wondering, it got shot down by, I believe, the Crusader, so that F-86 aircraft and something else. And we still don't know that there is a recon unit in here. Meanwhile, they have their recon units scouting, but they don't actually see any of our forces yet. Anyway, my infantry has made it across. MTLBV's BTR-90 is rushing across to provide fire support with a grenade launcher and an autocannon. And I'm running into 20 Legionnaires. managed to blow up the resupply truck to try and shake or stun the Legionnaires a little bit. BTR 90 with a grenade launcher and autocannon finishes off these Legionnaires very, very quickly before I lose any of my infantry. Actually, I did lose 2 Motostrelki there. Over here, an MTLBV is getting nailed by no less than 3 Humvees, and they are doing a surprising amount of damage to it. The Fern Speyer over here is still not spotted by us. We still don't know it's here. I'm not sure if it's actually spotting anything, though. No, it's not actually spotting anything. They just parked it there. Just consider how long that thing was there. In the middle, Spect is losing terrain. He's trying to regain this tree line here, but what we really need to regain is control of Foxtrot. He had to pull his Sylvie away, or it got destroyed. I'm not too sure what happened there. At the same time, if we can get control of Bravo, that would be wonderful, but it's going to be hard to do so. I try to push in. I managed to nail the Marines that were inside this building. I managed to clear this tree line, so at this point I thought, well, we might actually be able to pull this game back. Of course, that's when I run into the Smalls, and the Smalls managed to nail a couple of my tanks. Not only that, but they are also managing to nail my VDVs quite a bit. Igla is limping behind. I know exactly where the Smalls are, I just don't have a line of sight, so they are not actually getting attacked currently. Over towards the right, I have an M1 IP pushing in, so I immediately retreat with my BTR and my MTLBV and push the Motostrelki towards that position to try and counter this tank. Their armor penetration of 24 will be enough to go through the frontal armor of the tank and do quite a decent amount of damage. They seem to be aware of that they're pushing into this tree line without cover. So you can see that they're pulling away with these tanks as soon as possible. In the meanwhile, they're firing HGM, or actually I'm firing HGMs at the tank. Tank returns fire, heavily damages the BMD-3 here. More HGMs are flying in from the right, from Spect. He's trying to help me out as best he can. Now, again, at this point I thought, well, maybe we can pull this back. Because I had regained control of this tree line, to some extent. My Motostrelkis are trying to push out this M1 IP. And if I can get this tree line back, I can then put a CV in here and we can only start bleeding points by +1 instead of +2. Motostrelki don't have a great range. 525. Trying to get in range. Shot goes in. Weakened M1 IP gets shot down immediately. At which point 40 Legionnaires show up, as well as 30 SEALs. So they really were determined to get me out of this forest. The Fern Speyer at this point might actually be spotting my forces. Yep, they can see what is moving, but they cannot see it for very long. T80U. It's a big investment by Spect, but he always knows what he's doing. My Motostrelki here, we're trying to clear away these Humvees. Of course, this was a terrible use of my forces, and absolutely not a priority. The Humvees were not posing any kind of risk, and the actual problem was happening right here. Now my Spetsnaz ran across from this bush towards over here, and everything that's in this bush is now getting killed off. T-55 napalm tank, T-72 trying to push forward. I have a BMD-3 that's also into a position to try and surprise these guys with an HGM of their own. TO-55, of course, does not have the capacity to go through the main armor of an M1 IP. They managed to hit it. I decide to fire a little bit of napalm on it, forcing this tank to lose line of sight, and apparently I damaged it as well, just enough for a combined assault of the BMD-3 and the T-72A to kill off those forces. At this point I'm just randomly spewing napalm onto this tree line, trying to force these guys to back away, so that my BMD-3s can push in. I'm very, very lucky that that Legionnaire missed with their Erics. They don't do that a second time around, but at that point my VDV-90 was already out. And Spect managed to push in another CV here, and Fox managing only to lose +1 point, whereas again I was completely screwing up over here. Decided to bring in a T-72B. a slightly heavier tank than my T-72As. And with this thing, of course, I'm arriving too late to do anything useful. Now, if you look at this flank, you can still see that the amount of anti-air they have here is nothing. If I would have pushed him with a couple of helicopters, I might have made it all the way towards the TACOM, cleared that out. I may, even if I had been lucky, managed to nail that P4C. But I was way too worried trying to get as many forces into this tree line as possible. I tried to bring in some more HGMs as well as motor Strelkies. VDV 90s are trying to counter whatever is in here. My guys are worried, these guys are not so worried. They do have a higher veterancy, my guys, but against the Legionnaires, the Navy SEALs, which I had not forgotten about, and a bunch of Jaeger, which I didn't even know of. Of course, my VDV don't stand a single chance. And the VDV get nailed rather quickly. VDV down. Now, I had a BMPT a few minutes ago that I sent all the way back to the base. And it's now back at the front line. By now, by the way, they had also managed to neutralize Delta as far as the CV goes. So we're losing points by +3 for Blue 4. And we lost that Delta zone because we lost Echo. I completely skipped over that, but we had a Fern Speyer in our lines. It's now dead. Spec decided to pull back the CV, and we were really discussing whether we should surrender at this point because, come on, they were leading by +3. They have a ton of forces. My flank is doing terribly, and considering that we are not anywhere near stopping the +3, I mean, we have maybe a +1, but how are we going to turn the +1 around? I don't see it. Spec didn't see it either. In the meanwhile, I was having a bit of fun with my BMPT here in the woods. Actually enjoying getting a few kills here. In the form of the Jaeger. These were going down pretty quick to a combined fire from the TA-70 100mm gun and the grenade launcher. And of course, it's not really a priority, but I was just trying to do as much damage here. Jaeger's almost dead. Thing just has to fire last few grenades. Now with 15 frontal armor, the BMPT can take quite a bit of punishment from infantry, especially Jaeger. They don't have a great anti-tank weapon. So I decided to go hunting for Navy SEALs next. In the middle, Spect is trying to get towards the buildings towards the Legionnaires. Legionnaires denying that completely. Logistics trucks are coming in to resupply the Legionnaires, as well as rearm them because they have need of a few more guys. His T-80U pushes in, tries to do a bit of damage. Raven comes in, a Nighthawk follows up, and guess what he's going for? There goes a 155 point T-80U. And at this point we thought, well, you know what, screw it. These guys are playing so damn well, we are playing so damn terrible, especially me. I take full responsibility for this disastrous result. And we just decided to surrender. And this is what that looks like. I scored 1,000 points and I lost 1,800. Spect, at least, made a positive result. He got 2,267 points in kills, as well as 2,000 points in losses, so he actually made positive. These guys, unsurprisingly, made positive. Marechal, I somehow, together with Spect, managed to get negative by 10 points. So that, again, was not really that good. But aside from that, this is what it looks like when I lose. I did a very large discussion with Spect on this, on how I can improve my gameplay, what I can adjust, and how I can play differently next time around. And turns out, I need to be way more aware of what's happening and I need to be more aggressive. I also should bring more tanks in my initial push, because I had one T-72A and nothing else. And my AA might need some revision. So, if you have any other tips for me to how to improve this gameplay, let me know in the comments. Or you can just gloat, because as mentioned at the beginning of the video, there are some people who really enjoy seeing me lose. So, I hope to have amused you with this gameplay. With that, it's the end of the video. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.